Hey, welcome to another Valley Forged. Well, my friends, we're going to talk about 5 stages every laser engraving business must survive starting day one. And this is Steve Makes Everything. And what I really wanted to talk about is sincerity. I mean, this is something I look for when I'm watching channels. I don't just watch laser channels when it comes to running my laser business. Obviously, I watch videos on how to do YouTube and storytelling, even though I'm not necessarily follow them. You know, just the day-to-day running a business, how to do it the way I want to do it, what's selling, all kinds of different things, right? But in common, I just try and find people who are actually doing what I'm trying to do, and also that are sincere, that aren't just trying to sell you something. They're all trying to sell you something, including me. We're all trying to sell you something. That's why we're doing this for the most part. But what comes first? I mean, I love lasers. That comes first. That's number one. The only reason I do this is because I love lasers. And when that stops, I'll move on and I'll do something else. And I love sharing this hobby or this business or whatever. And I feel like I'm semi-successful doing it. I'm about to take 5 or 6 months off here in a couple of weeks. And I have managed to maybe take the get rich slow scheme and turn it into what I want to do, right? Everybody has different reasons for why they do this. For me, I love to travel. And since most of my business is Christmas, then I can work up until Christmas and then take some time off. It just works out really, really well for me. So when I talk about laser businesses, I am very sincere, and I believe Steve is very sincere about loving lasers and wanting to help you improve. So that's why I'm going to react to his video. And of course, our reasons for success are different. So therefore, what we do to get there is different. And so between the two of us, I think, and watching some of these others like Clack Shack or Ventari or Laser Lady, who I am really, really glad that I suggested you get to know Laser Lady. Another person I think is very sincere about wanting to help people in this business, has put together what I think has got to be a ton of work. She has put together an Ignite and Scale Summit, a 3-day online event, November 11th through 13th. This is coming up really, really fast. I am doing a thing on lasers and leather with her, and there'll be lots of other people. And, hey, kudos to her for putting all of this together. It could not have been easy. It is something that she's charging $9 for, and it's got all kinds of things that I'll probably make a dedicated video about it here this week. I don't know. I just want to support what she's doing. Not too many people, including myself, are willing to put this much effort in it to help people on their laser journey. So this is super cool. So again, I'll have a link below for this, and I will be talking to you lots more about it. And, hit me up with any questions or go to her channel, hit her up with questions. I'm sure she'll be talking about it a lot too. Now let's get back to Steve Makes Everything. Let's go through this video and figure out, hey, where are you on this journey? Does this make any sense to you and does what I think about what he says make sense to you? So let's have some fun. Come on.
YouTubers make it sound like starting a laser engraving business is the simplest thing ever. You buy a laser, you learn a few settings, and you start selling, right? What's so hard about that? But every single successful person I know in this business goes through 5 very distinct stages. And most people honestly get stuck right around the middle somewhere. Now, I'm not claiming to be some sort of expert or guru on laser engraving business or business in general. I've just been obsessed with figuring out how to turn this from a fun hobby into a real business that actually works. And I've been doing that for, many years. Through every upgrade, every late night engraving session, every failed project, I've tried to keep one goal in mind, which is to build something sustainable that matters, something that lets me keep creating and still manages to pay the bills. So in this video, I'm going to walk.
Well, one place that I agree with him right there. It's like, how do I continue to do what I love? How many people are out there? I'd love to hear your comments. Not just on that, but on Steve and on, what Laser Lady's doing and just lasers in general, like where we're at, what you need, and how we can help you, because that's what we're here to do. But, how do we turn this thing that we love into being able to just do that, just to do only that? And I've mentioned many times, I think it takes about a year, and you're going to have to give up some stuff. What are you willing to give up to be able to make your hobby your business and keep yourself sane at the same time? And I think that's something a lot of people don't do, and I'm sure Steve will get into.
You through the 5 stages that every laser engraving business goes through, from that first hobby spark to building a recognizable brand. And more importantly, how to avoid some of the traps that slow people down. And I've fallen into a lot of those. I want to keep this as informal as possible and share just some of the things I've learned and maybe share a few of the perspectives on what I think I still don't know. So with that, let's get into this, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Stage 1 is what I call the hobby spark. This is the moment when you buy your first laser, maybe it's a small diode machine or even an entry-level CO2, and you just can't stop experimenting with it. You're not really thinking about business yet. You're just amazed that this machine that you bought can do all these amazing things. So you start engraving everything in sight. You create some new coasters for your living room.
Yeah, and if you watch this channel, you've probably heard me say, this is everything looks like a nail and you're the hammer part. And I certainly had that, man. I took a class at a maker space is what they call it. So they have these lasers and you can pay a monthly fee and come in, take classes, learn. It was instant for me. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I gave up everything else I was doing at the time because I just knew this is it. This is what I'm doing. I wanted to make everything and I wanted to learn how to do everything. And I mean, the purse file that I came up, this is one of the crazy things. It's one of the most intricate things and difficult things I've ever done. And it was one of the first things. It's so crazy to even think about that. But I did start with coasters and I started doing all kinds of interesting designs with coasters and took them to the local farmer's market. So I kind of mixed what I think he's going to say is stage 1 and stage 2. I instantly wanted to do this as a business. It wasn't, even though I wanted to learn and do every single thing possible, I wanted to also start my business right away because I knew this is what I wanted to do. So did you guys do it as a hobby first?
You go to the kitchen and you grab a cutting board and you put some engraving on it. You even put your dog's name on some tags. Really nothing is safe from this sort of engraving. You just want to engrave everything. Every new engraving experiment that you do feels like a major victory. And honestly, at this stage, this is the most fun you're ever going to have. This is where creativity can flow without any kind of pressure because...
I get into that all the time. This is the most fun that I've ever had right now. Well, it is hard to say, those times, there was a lot of frustrating times back then too. I mean, maybe you're getting super highs, but you're getting super lows because things are difficult and you don't know how to do anything and you're ruining a lot of wood. So I don't know. I feel like this is the best time I'm having because I'm able to work for 5 or 6 months and then leave for 5 or 6 months and come back and do that. And so enjoy my life, be creative. I think this is what he's getting to is like, you're so creative at this point because everything looks like a nail to you. So you're just thinking, how can I use the laser to do this? What can I make? And that is so lost for most people over time. They just start making the same stuff everybody else is making in the exact same way. That really doesn't spark your imagination. It doesn't make you happy. So I never went that way, maybe for a very small amount of time. But let's see what he has to say about that.
You don't have any deadlines and you have no customers. All you have is discovery. And here's the first trap, and I fell right into it. You suddenly think that just because your work looks great to you, people are automatically going to want to pay for it. Now, learning to use a laser is one thing, but learning the inspiration that makes people want to actually pay money for something is completely different. And that's what you do when you start to figure things out in stage 2.
I never did that either. People did want to buy the stuff I made right away. So I was very fortunate in that. In fact, I still sell a lot of those exact same things today. In fact, I just put together, and I'll be doing a video on this soon, all of my files because they're working for me, right? I'm able to make a sustainable business on the files that I make now. So I put together all of them. So yeah, here's my part where I'm selling to you. But for like $20, you get all of my files and you can make all of the stuff I make. And then you just got to get to work, basically. Anyways, so I was very fortunate. I was successful from the beginning, from the first times that I started doing farmers markets. It was working for me. My problem was just learning how to do everything.
2 on your journey is where things really start to get interesting. It's the side hustle. This is where you realize, hey, maybe people will actually pay for this hobby that I've chosen. So you start to sell a few things to friends, maybe you hit a local market or two, or you throw a few things up online someplace, and you get that first sale, and it feels amazing. But then you realize that there's a reality kicking in here. Now you have to make it again. You have to pack it, ship it, deal with messages from customers, and suddenly this is a whole thing. This is where you start learning what actually sells versus what you really like to make, and it's sometimes quite different. You realize that.
Yeah, I totally agree with him. The ability to say no, because you can take on all kinds of work that you're not going to enjoy and it's going to be frustrating. I've definitely done that. The ability to just say no is very important. Push yourself. Try and do things you've never done before and say yes to things that are going to expand you that you want to do. But if something seems like a pain in the butt to you that you're not going to make any money on, just don't do it because you're taking away from the time of doing things you do want to do for a little bit of money that's just going to end up frustrating you.
That customers care more about presentation and personalization than they do about those perfect settings that you toiled so long to learn. But the biggest trap in this stage, and I see it all the time, is treating your side hustle like it's just a hobby that pays for itself. So you underprice your products, you skip any sort of branding, you just focus on making cool stuff. And that definitely works for a while until you hit your first wall. And what is that wall, you're asking? Well, that's where most people either quit this whole hobby/side hustle or they level up to stage 3. And that's where things start to get really serious. Stage 3 is what I call the busy shop. You've gone from the occasional.
Yeah, I guess I never really had that transition. The things that I was making were pretty much selling, and I didn't say yes to everything. And I just continued to make what I wanted to make that also sold, right? And so I kind of recommend going that journey because making a bunch of things that you don't enjoy making, I don't think is a win.
Order to being pretty much in constant production mode. You're not just playing with your laser anymore. You're running a real operation, even if it doesn't always feel like it. You're reinvesting in better materials, maybe upgrading your laser, buying a rotary, maybe adding an enclosure. You're basically figuring out which products actually make money and which ones just are eating up your time. And this is where things start to hurt a little sometimes, because suddenly you're the engraver, you're the designer, the marketer, the customer service rep, and the shipping department all rolled into one. If you stop for a day, your whole business stops, and that's a killer. The trap here is thinking that more orders equals more success. But what actually happens is you hit a ceiling. Your time, your energy, your equipment all max out. You realize you've built a business that depends completely on you. And that's when you have to make a choice. Do you stay stuck at busy mode, or do you start building a real business that can grow beyond your current limits? Stage 4 is the real.
Yeah, he's getting to the real business. What my thoughts are is you got to figure out what kind of business you are. I am not just a manufacturer. Is that what you want to be? Are you a manufacturer? If so, you think about things quite differently than you do if you're, say, run a YouTube channel like I do, or you sell files like I do, or I sell retail. I have wholesale. I sell, in 2 farmers markets and different shops like that. I have like a lot of, I bring lasers to y'all. Sometimes that makes money, whatever. There are many different ways in which I'm generating an income from my laser business. Sometimes I don't even need to be here. So I think predominantly what he's talking about is the manufacturing side. And if you're running it in a very typical way, which a lot of people try to do, I find that's pretty difficult. Use your imagination of many different ways, and some of them will work, and whichever ones end up making you happy. It's something to think about.
Business. This is where you stop thinking like a maker who owns a laser and start thinking like a business owner who happens to laser engrave. You start building systems instead of fighting fires, jigs for repeat jobs, pre-cut blanks to save some time, automated messages so you don't have to sit in front of a screen and answer email. Everything you do is starting to run smoother because you've stopped winging it and you've started planning for real growth. You probably know your best selling products by now, the ones that actually make money and don't cause you a whole lot of headaches. You focus on your niche, build relationships with repeat customers, and maybe you even add a second laser or maybe some help to free up some of your time. But the new trap is triggered when you get too comfortable. You've figured out what works, so it's tempting to just keep repeating that forever. But the market changes very fast, and if you stop innovating, you're going to slowly fade away. Stage 4 is where you finally feel legit, but it's also where the next leap happens. This is when your laser shop starts to become a real brand. Stage 5 is the scalable brand. This is where you go from, running a simple laser engraving business to running a brand that people are going to recognize and trust. You spent a lot of time building a system.
Just a quick question out there. Is anybody out there in stage 5? I'm not. I mean, I don't think I am anyways. I don't have like a stable brand. And he's totally right that the business has changed so much, even in the past year. I mean, my Etsy sales went to like 0 this summer, and I had to think about other ways. And, I got local shops to start buying all of my stuff. So I had to switch gears and do things differently. Fortunately, that all worked out, and then my Etsy business started ramping up again. So now I'm at even a higher level than I was a year ago, even though the summer was terrible for me. And I remember talking to a few people who were doing shows and saying they're having the worst time ever. Nobody's coming to these shows. So I always thought that was a difficult way to try and make a living, to doing these shows. I don't really see that many people making a great profit only doing that. So, and if they're doing worse than they were doing before, that is rough.
That keeps your business running, but now you need to focus bigger and focus on growth that's going to last. You might launch your own product line or collaborate with local companies, or even teach others if you want to run some kind of an educational program. At this stage, people don't just want to buy your products, they want to buy your whole story. And your brand has to stand for something. It might be quality or craftsmanship or creativity, and that's what's going to keep customers coming back. But there's one more trap, and it's a big one. You could lose touch with why you started this business in the first place. That same spark that got you into lasers, that curiosity and joy, That's what built all of this, and you definitely don't want to lose it. Now, I'm still learning about my own business every single day, but staying focused on that end goal, which is to build something that matters and lasts, that's what made this entire journey worth it for me. So, which stage are you at in your business right now? Drop a comment down below and let me know.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of totally am with him. You know, I'm at the stage with my leather wallets and leather goods that I literally could make a brand that could have some permanence, right? I mean, if that's the direction I wanted to go, and it still might be, I don't know. It just depends how I'm feeling about it. But I am at what I would say is the expertise in leather making with lasers, and it is way easier and better than trying to do it by hand. It's just better, in my opinion. You know, I have now made things both by hand and with a laser, and the laser just is better when it comes to doing, especially Italian leather wallets. It's awesome. If I wanted to concentrate my time on that, like I said, I could make a brand that did something. So interesting, you know, what he said. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you're at in this journey. If you feel like what he said made sense to you, obviously go over to Steve Makes Everything and give him a, you know, like and a sub and all that. I appreciate him making his videos and his sincerity in wanting to help people do what they love. And, you know, I hope that continues in this world. Maybe we'll all be replaced by AI soon. I have no idea. But in the meantime, I'm going to have a good time and enjoy what I do. So I, again, appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Love y'all.